The final few minutes of Silo Season 3 Episode 5 changed everything we thought we knew. What looked like a simple memory returning to Juliette may actually be the moment that decides whether every single Silo survives or dies. One forgotten object unlocked the biggest secret in the entire series. Robert Sims made a choice nobody expected. Bernard was forced to trust the one person he once controlled. And hidden beneath all of that was a terrifying realization that the greatest danger isn't outside the silo anymore, it's already inside it. By the end of this episode, every major character has crossed a line they can never come back from. So let's break down the ending, explain what really happened, uncover the hidden meanings behind the biggest scenes, and talk about why this episode may become the turning point of Season 3. Episode 5 is called Memory, and after watching it, it's impossible to think of a more fitting title. Every major storyline revolves around the past returning. Some characters recover memories they had lost. Others are haunted by memories they wish they could forget. And a few discover that the truth has been hidden from them their entire lives. Instead of focusing on non-stop action, this episode chooses something much more powerful. It focuses on emotion, trust, and the consequences of secrets. That slower approach makes the ending hit even harder because every revelation feels earned rather than rushed. One of the biggest surprises comes from Robert Sims. Throughout the series, Sims has often been presented as Bernard's enforcer. He followed orders, protected the system, and believed that maintaining control was more important than asking questions. But Episode 5 completely changes how we should look at his character. This isn't a sudden personality shift. It's the result of everything he's experienced over the last 3 seasons. Think about what Sims has gone through. He dedicated his entire life to protecting the silo. He risked everything for Bernard. He enforced laws that he believed were necessary for survival. Yet every time the truth became more important, someone else was trusted instead of him. Bernard always kept him at a distance. The algorithm never truly accepted him. Even his own wife, Camille, now knows things she refuses to share with him. For perhaps the first time in his life, Sims realizes that loyalty has never been rewarded. It has only been used against him. That realization changes every decision he makes during this episode. Instead of blindly following orders, Sims starts asking the same question that the audience has been asking for a long time. Why are certain people so desperate to silence Juliette, Bernard, and Lucas? If the algorithm wants them eliminated immediately, then they must know something incredibly dangerous. Rather than treating them like enemies, Sims recognizes that they may actually hold the key to saving everyone inside the silo. This is why his actions throughout the episode become so important. He secretly helps Bernard survive when everyone else believes he's dead. He makes sure Juliette stays alive instead of becoming another victim. He quietly begins working against the very system he once protected. What's fascinating is that Sims doesn't suddenly become a hero. He becomes something much more believable. He becomes a man searching for the truth after realizing he has spent years protecting lies. That makes his character far more interesting than before. Even the tension between Sims and Camille tells its own story without needing long speeches. Earlier in the series, they worked together with complete trust. Now, every conversation between them feels uncomfortable because they're no longer fighting for the same future. Camille believes preserving the system matters above everything else. Sims believes saving his family and discovering the truth matters more. Those goals cannot exist together forever. The emotional distance between them is just as important as the physical separation we see throughout the episode. It's symbolic of two people who once stood side by side, but are now moving in opposite directions. One follows the algorithm without hesitation. The other has finally started questioning it. That conflict may become one of the most important storylines for the rest of the season. Then we have Bernard, whose role in this episode is equally fascinating. Bernard has always been the man with answers. He's the one giving instructions, controlling situations, and staying several moves ahead of everyone else. But Episode 5 strips away that confidence. He's injured, isolated, and completely dependent on people he never expected to trust. For perhaps the first time in the series, Bernard isn't controlling the game. He's reacting to it. That alone changes the balance of power inside the silo. Instead of manipulating everyone else, Bernard now needs Juliette's memories to survive. He understands that she remembers something from Silo 17, something connected to the safeguard protocol, but even he doesn't know exactly what she saw. Imagine how frustrating that must be. The one person capable of saving the silo can't remember the information everyone desperately needs. That creates incredible tension because every minute Juliette struggles to remember increases the danger facing everyone underground. But here's where the writing becomes especially clever. The episode never treats memory as simple information. It treats memory as identity. Without her memories, Juliette isn't just missing facts. She's missing part of herself. Every forgotten moment weakens her understanding of who she is and why she has fought so hard to uncover the truth. That's why ordinary conversations don't bring her memories back. Logic alone isn't enough. Emotion is. Objects connected to genuine experiences carry emotional weight, and emotional weight breaks through the memory suppression much more effectively than questions ever could. The writers quietly establish this idea throughout the episode before delivering one of the most satisfying payoffs in the ending. That payoff doesn't just explain Juliette's memories. It explains why memories themselves have become one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire world of Silo. As powerful as Robert Sim's storyline is, the real heart of Episode 5 belongs to Juliette. The entire episode slowly builds toward one question. What exactly did she see inside Silo 17 that everyone is so desperate for her to remember? From the very beginning, Bernard knows that Juliette's memories are more valuable than any weapon. He doesn't need her strength. He doesn't need her engineering skills. He needs what is locked inside her mind. That completely changes the stakes of the story because the battle is no longer about escaping danger. It's about recovering the truth before someone else silences it forever. Throughout the episode, different people try to trigger Juliette's memories. Bernard tells her what happened after the explosion. Others bring her objects connected to her past. They hope that one small detail will unlock everything she has forgotten. But nothing works. And that is an important detail. The writers are showing us that memory cannot simply be forced back. It has to be connected to genuine emotion. A person can hear the facts of their own life without feeling anything. But a meaningful object, a familiar sound, or a powerful experience can instantly bring the past rushing back. Episode 5 uses this idea brilliantly. The biggest example comes at the very end when Sims hands Juliette the Pez dispenser. At first, it looks like another random relic. But the moment she touches it, everything changes. Her memories begin flooding back almost instantly. She remembers Solo. She remembers Silo 17. Most importantly, she remembers the safeguard protocol. This is one of the biggest reveals of the season because the audience finally understands why the memory suppression mattered so much. It wasn't simply about hiding history. It was about preventing anyone from discovering how the silos can actually be destroyed. According to Juliette's Recover Memories, the safeguard protocol doesn't depend on soldiers or security teams. Instead, it uses poison gas that can be released into the silo through a hidden system connected deep underground. That revelation completely changes the threat facing everyone. Until now, many characters believed the greatest danger came from rebellion. Others believed it came from the outside world. But Episode 5 reveals that the deadliest weapon has always existed inside the silo itself. That is terrifying. It means the people living there have spent generations believing they were protected, when in reality they have been living inside what is essentially a giant trap. The moment Juliette remembers this, her mission becomes clear. She no longer needs to search for answers. She needs to stop the protocol before someone activates it. That shifts the story into an entirely new direction for the second half of the season. Another storyline that deserves attention is Sheriff Paul Billings. While Juliette is uncovering forgotten memories, Billings is uncovering hidden problems inside the silo itself. His investigation into the murder begins leading him toward critical supply, and what he discovers there may become just as dangerous as the safeguard protocol. The supply of essential equipment is disappearing. Not food. Not medicine. Light bulbs. That might sound like a small problem at first, but once you think about it, it becomes horrifying. The silo survives because it can grow food underground. Those farms depend on artificial light. If the lights stop working, crops begin to fail. If crops fail, food disappears. If food disappears, the population eventually dies. Suddenly, stolen light bulbs become one of the biggest threats in the entire series. This is exactly what makes Silo different from many other science fiction shows. It doesn't always rely on giant explosions or massive battles to create tension. Sometimes the scariest threat is something ordinary. A missing light bulb, a damaged pipe, a forgotten key. Small problems slowly become civilization-ending disasters. Billings immediately understands the seriousness of what he's discovering. The deeper he investigates, the more obvious it becomes that someone inside the silo is stealing resources on a massive scale. These aren't random thefts anymore. Someone has a plan. Even more suspicious is the connection between these thefts and the murder investigation. The episode quietly suggests they may not be separate mysteries at all. If the victim discovered who was responsible for the thefts, that could explain why she was killed before exposing the truth. At this point, the evidence begins pointing toward Ed Harwood. His position gives him access. He has influence. And the location where the body was found naturally raises suspicion around the mines. Of course, the writers could still be misleading us. Silo enjoys making one character appear guilty before revealing someone completely unexpected later. But right now, Ed remains one of the strongest suspects. Meanwhile, Billings himself continues changing. Back in Season 1, he believed in rules more than anything else. He trusted the pact. He believed that following the law kept everyone safe. Episode 5 shows how much that belief has weakened. Every new secret forces him to question another part of the system. Every investigation reveals another hidden lie. He's beginning to realize that enforcing rules without understanding their purpose can be just as dangerous as breaking them. That realization mirrors Robert Sim's journey. Although the two men come from completely different backgrounds, both are reaching the same conclusion. The silo has been built on information that only a handful of people were allowed to know. Everyone else, including the people enforcing those rules, were expected to obey without asking why. Now those questions can no longer be ignored. And once enough people start asking them, keeping control of the silo may become impossible. By the end of Episode 5, it becomes clear that this isn't just another chapter in the story. It feels like the point where every storyline finally begins moving toward the same destination. Juliette has recovered the memories everyone desperately needed. Robert Sims has crossed a line that makes it almost impossible for him to return to the algorithm side. Billings is uncovering a conspiracy growing inside the silo. And Bernard is running out of time to stop everything from falling apart. That is why the ending feels so powerful. For the first time this season, every major character is chasing the same goal, even if they don't fully realize it yet, saving the silo before it's too late. But the biggest question now is this. Can the safeguard protocol actually be stopped? Juliette remembers that poison gas can be released through hidden systems buried deep within the silo. Knowing that information is incredibly important, but knowledge alone doesn't solve the problem. She still has to find the exact location of the system, understand how it works, and disable it before someone or something activates it. And that brings us to the most mysterious force in the entire show, the algorithm. Throughout Season 3, the algorithm has slowly become more than just a computer making calculations. It behaves almost like another character. It predicts human behavior. It chooses leaders. It decides who should live and who should die. Most importantly, it seems willing to sacrifice individuals if it believes doing so protects the long-term survival of the silo. That creates a terrifying conflict. The humans are trying to save lives. The algorithm is trying to preserve the system. Those two goals are no longer the same. If the algorithm believes activating the safeguard protocol is necessary, then every second Juliette spends searching for answers makes the situation even more dangerous. Another detail that shouldn't be ignored is Bernard's comment about communication. Earlier in the episode, he explains that they have been listening on the wrong frequency. That may sound like a small piece of dialogue, but it could become one of the biggest clues for the rest of the season. We already know there are many silos. For years, they've existed almost like isolated worlds, with each population believing their own silo is all that matters. But what if they were never meant to stay isolated forever? What if communication between silos was always possible, and the people in charge simply prevented anyone from discovering it? If Bernard is right, then changing the frequency could allow contact with other silos. That possibility opens the story in a massive way. Imagine Juliette discovering that another silo has already found a solution to the safeguard protocol. Or perhaps another silo has already fallen because no one stopped it in time. Either possibility would completely change how we understand this world. The flashbacks involving Daniel and Helen also continue hinting that the story stretches far beyond the underground civilization we've been following. Every episode reveals another small piece of the world's past. We still don't know exactly why the silos were built. We don't know who truly created the algorithm. And we certainly don't know whether the people who started this entire project expected it to continue for hundreds of years. Those unanswered questions are becoming more important with every episode. Instead of giving us all the answers immediately, the writers continue rewarding patience. Every revelation feels connected to something introduced much earlier, making the world feel carefully planned rather than randomly expanded. That's one of the biggest strengths of Silo. Now let's talk about the performances, because this episode wouldn't have worked nearly as well without them. Rebecca Ferguson once again delivers an emotional performance as Juliette. She doesn't need long speeches to show what her character is feeling. You can see the confusion, determination, and fear simply through her reactions. When her memories finally return, you immediately understand that she isn't just remembering information. She's reliving painful experiences she had buried deep inside her mind. But for me, the standout performance belongs to Common as Robert Sims. Earlier in the season, some viewers questioned whether Sims had enough emotional depth. Episode 5 answers those concerns completely. This version of Sims feels layered. He's conflicted. He's angry. He's disappointed. But at the same time, he's finally thinking for himself. That transformation makes him one of the most interesting characters heading into the rest of the season. Looking ahead, I think Episode 5 has quietly set up several major conflicts. Juliette will almost certainly race to locate the poison gas system before it's activated. Billing's investigation into the stolen supplies and the murder is likely to expose a much larger conspiracy inside the silo. Sims will probably become an enemy of the algorithm, putting both himself and his family in enormous danger. And Bernard may have to make impossible decisions if protecting the silo means sacrificing people he once believed he could save. Everything is now moving toward what feels like an explosive second half of the season. Overall, I think Silo Season 3 Episode 5 is easily one of the strongest episodes we've seen so far. It balances mystery, emotion, world building, and character development without losing momentum. Instead of relying on shocking twists every few minutes, it lets the tension build naturally until the final revelation completely changes the direction of the story. Most importantly, it reminds us that in Silo, the greatest weapon isn't technology. It isn't the poison gas. It isn't even the algorithm. It's the truth. Because once people begin remembering the past, questioning the rules, and uncovering the lies they've lived with for generations, no wall is strong enough to keep those secrets buried forever. So, what did you think about Episode 5? Did Robert Sims completely change your opinion this week? Who do you think is really behind the stolen supplies? And do you believe Juliette can stop the safeguard protocol before it's too late? Share your theories in the comments, because with the way this season is building, I have a feeling the biggest revelations are still waiting for us.